Hey, Kowlasky here. Welcome back to another video. Now in this video I want to cover the second World Chess Championship match. Now this has been played in London 1843 between Pierre de Saint-Amant and Howard Staunton, right? Like a legendary name enters the scene. Now this has been played in London, and the protagonist here really is the Frenchman, because he's gonna be like the last big French player that's gonna be on that caliber of world champion. And Staunton, is kind of like a new name entering. Also, he has like a chess magazine and everything, so he's really gaining popularity in the chess world, and so he wants to make a name for himself and really show that he is a good player. This is a mini match, 6 games, and the score was 3.5 to 2.5 at the end. So obviously Staunton wants revenge, and he's gonna get it, but that's gonna be a topic for a next episode. Now the Frenchman has been regarded as one of the greatest French players at that time, and he really pioneered the French defense. So after 1e4 1e6, we all know the famous French defense, and he really played with a lot of the grandmasters that were in the past era, that he had them like friends, and they really played in cafes and everything. So in honor of this match, I'm gonna show you the game this was the last game that Pierre de Saint-Amant won, and he's playing with the white pieces. Let's see how the game goes. Now we have e4 and c5. Staunton really liked the Sicilian defense, and now we have c4. The funny thing is, this is actually named the Staunton chord chain variation, which says you a lot about this game. But actually Staunton plays with the black pieces, so he's gonna play e6. And now there have been a little bit of top games here. Not too many, like about 280, and we have knight f3, right? A main continuation here, just the developing moves. And now here really like the most popular move is d4, in fact, either d4 or bishop e2, but what the Frenchman plays here is not usually a good option, d3. The game is now equal, but with d4 you had the chance to break it and make it an open Sicilian again, and now just profit off of the fact that black has put his knight here on e7 instead of f6, right? And like in the usual Sicilians, and now white is actually fine. It's almost like a Marazzi bind, but it's even better because black is weirdly developed, so to say. So instead of that we have d3, and this has only been played about 8 times. So we have knight g6, which is now like the first new move, so to say. We have bishop e2, and now bishop e7, and no more transpositions. We have just bishop e3, and now just d6, right? So we have the standard like Sicilian structure that is closed, and we have a3, and now bishop f6, right? Taking advantage of this diagonal that now has been a little bit weakened by the absence of the bishop. Now we have knight back to d2, and castles. Now knight d4, as this square is just free for grabs, and now just rook b1, a6, preparing a move like b5, and actually white ignores it. He goes f4, now starting his own attack. Okay, b5, and now king h1, again just going for like a lot of moves that can just allow you to attack. Now you can even take the knight and not be in check, so a prophylactic move, king h1. We have rook b8, and now he does exactly like I said, but before he played bishop h5, now putting pressure on the knight. Obviously you're not gonna want to take the knight too soon, but just getting out of the way of the knight, and also putting pressure on this other knight. We have bishop d7 now, and now he finally takes, right? We have takes. Now knight back, and black after bishop e3, he's actually doing better here because he has the space advantage, and after a move like rook f3 attacking, now after this trade, you can really see that black doesn't really have any problems, and it's actually white's position that's loose. So we have b takes on c4, and d takes on c4, but now bishop c6, and what Staunton did here, and he kind of missed some things. He really left himself with this weakness on d6 that's now exploitable. You see, if he kept the position closed, for example, if he played bishop c6 now, his position would have been much better, because if you try a move like, I don't know, knight g3, right, to just maneuver everything over here on the king side, now you just get hit with b4, which is actually, you know, a good move, because there's no immediate attack. You cannot really play f5, the pawn is pinned, right? So let's say you take. Now after rook takes, you just get immense pressure on this b pawn. The a pawn is gonna march, and you're just gonna have a pleasant game as black. You're not winning, but it's still a better position. Instead, after this trade and bishop c6, now the pawn is defended, and here, you know, after the double up is tried, now you know, obviously you want to double up with the rooks, not with the queen, but now, you know, you just attack the pawn, and here Staunton decides to go for an interesting idea, f5. Not the best idea, but still interesting, basically sacrificing a pawn for some sort of activity, and he kind of gets that activity. Here what Pierre missed, I think, was knight to c1, and after you know, after it takes, you went check, and here after king h8, you had this move rook g6 in between move. And now you would win a piece, because now you cannot take, right, because the rook is hanging, and that's what he probably saw, and he canceled this variation. So instead he went knight c3, but it's no worries, the position is still equal, still in the balance. Now you have knight e2, which allows rook takes on a3. Now you cannot take, the rook is hanging, and now, you know, Staunton just goes for a check, and now we have rook d7. And this prepares rook b7 or other rook lifts. So we have just rook e3 and knight g1. Now the knight was attacked. You're gonna want to protect this pawn, so you can move your queen now. But queen takes f4, right? A move that seems to be dangerous, but it's actually not. You just take another pawn as white here. Rook f to e8, now doubling up the rooks, but now just rook b to d1, also doing the same. Knight h4 here, trying to set up you know, an attack on this f3 pawn, but now your queen gets booted away once, and now after queen g5, this has been a big mistake by Staunton here. Just rook to g4, and now you cannot take the rook because you're pinned, and you're forced to move the queen, and now he takes the pawn. And here, you know, instead of taking the rooks right away, he decides to play rook e1, trying to look for some counterplay. So we have rook takes h7, and after the rook trade, you know, Saint-Amant gives a check. A very essential check, because here if you take the queen right away, now this position becomes equal, because you don't win the knight right away, and you know, if you play something like queen f2, you can just go knight g6, and black is actually fine, believe it or not. But after queen d4 check, now after you take the queen, now you can actually enjoy it being up an extra piece. So as you can see, white's just up 4 points of material. He should be in the clear. King g2 getting out of the pin. Now rook d1 trying to get some checks, and after knight h3 we just have rook g8, now setting up some discoveries. Knight f4 check, king f7 check, and now just king h3. And the king is safe. The king is safe. We have rook d to g1 now, and now just queen h7 check. But here, you know, Saint-Amant just really loses a little bit of too many moves, and here he makes a massive mistake. If he would have played queen d7 check, queen d7 for example, now the position is just winning as you're threatening checkmate, and this checkmate cannot be stopped. Like rook d1 is the best option, but even if he had given the original check, that was just an accident, right? He would have still been better here, because if you try to chase the white king away, you are gonna eventually grab the pawns and just be better. But instead he went knight g3, which loses the game, because now you have this amazing move, rook 8 takes on g3. Now this is just amazing, because you cannot take the rook, you would be losing, because rook h1 wins the queen, so you're forced to go king h4. And now we have rook g7 attacking the queen, and now the position is actually equal. The position is actually equal, and you know, white's winning chances are basically out the window, because you know, he's at a disadvantage. He's still up a point of material, so like he has 2 pawns, but it's gonna be very, very hard for him to actually convert any of these. Now it's important that you don't take the pawn. Now just queen f8, for example, and if you try to block, you're gonna lose your rook. So you just have to be patient, right, and pin, not allow any checks. Now white actually pushes the pawn, trying to use his asset, but now you can take the pawn, and here, you know, the position is still a draw. He goes back, and now h4, just taking away rook g5, but boxing in the king a little too much. We have rook g8, and now this actually loses to the move queen to e5. This is an only move, because you gotta get your queen out and attack this pawn. Now, for example, rook 4 to g7, now you lose this pawn with check, as you cannot protect it, and now it's gonna be a much easier job to convert everything. For example, king e8, now you can just play even queen e6 check, and you cannot block, you lose the rook. So for example, king f8, but now you can even get, for example, queen f6 check. And after king e8, now you have a move like king h6, just attacking the rook, and this is just crushing. You have to move the rook, and at some point you're just gonna lose the game here. Slowly h5 and stuff like that is gonna happen. Also, this pawn is now very, very important, but instead white played queen h7 check, and now it's a draw again, because after king f6 and c7, you're actually in time with the defense. You boot the queen out, and now after b4, white actually only wanted a draw out of this, which is very, very interesting. Here, you know, he goes queen g6 check, which is also like the only move at this point, because if you move your queen elsewhere, it's just rook h8 check, and if you block, well, you're just gonna lose this, and now you're not gonna promote anymore. So queen g6 is the only move to make a draw. And the funny thing about this game is, if you take the queen, you make a draw, but Staunton here, for some weird reason, he went king g8, and now he's lost. Even if he went, for example, like king f8, he would still be lost after takes. And even if he went king e8, sorry, king e7, he would still be lost, because the rook is lost. And here you can, you know, you can try to like to defend here, like, but you know, white just has too much material. If white didn't have this pawn, maybe this could have been possible to create a fortress, but with white's extra pawn, this is just losing. So inexplicable here why he did this. Now just completely forgetting about queen e6. This is just check, and you win the rook. It's over. So that concluded like the first match, their first ever meetup. And you know, I'm gonna come with the second match that actually holds the conclusion. Like, the second match is gonna be a longer match. This has been only 6 games. That's gonna be much longer, and you know, we all know that longer games usually produce a more accurate result. So that was all for this video. I'll see you all in the next one. Kowlasky out.